all watched. So official. Who all watched the mastermind yesterday
Yeah, yeah.
or Monday?
I did.
Sorry. Okay.
I have 10 minutes left.
What are some ahas?
I wrote down so many.
I think one for me that is something that I'm trying to work on is finding out what they're thinking before I start speaking. So like shutting up.
Yeah.
Not just like going through the process, like really seeing like
Or
what it is.
asking them the right questions to figure out where they're at in their headspace. Are they aware of what the market was like a year ago? Or do they think right now that they can negotiate and offer low due diligences and that multiple offers are not a thing? Okay. Anybody else want to share? Megan?
Yes, mine, I thought this was huge, is it says, you're not in a market to be able to offer under ask and, low due diligence. So what you have to ask yourself as a buyer is there a thing that you can compromise in your search? Bedrooms, location, etc. Two, when the perfect house comes along, are you ready to come in strong against a lot of offers? And then three, will you choose to just stay in your current situation? Those are your three options. Basically, it comes down to that's really your only option. So if you're not willing to, if you're waiting for that perfect house, so are other people.
Yep.
So you can't come in and lowball. Are you going to be competitive? Are you going to take something down like a bedroom location, this, that, and the other, so that you can get in that lower price? Or is your location and your situation that you're in fine to stay in? Because that's really all you've got. The three other things, what he said was prices are high, but they're forecasted to go up.
Prices are low compared to what they were.
I'm sorry, let me back up. The rejections that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Well, but prices are high.
Yeah.
And he says, but it's our job to say, but they're forecasted to go up. Well, the rates are high. Yes, those could go down, but prices are going to go up. And then buy now at lower price, refi when the rate is down. So again, you've kind of got three sort of points to make. And buying now at a lower interest rate or at a higher interest rate, and then refinancing later gets you into more of the home that you wanted now versus later. So I think I wrote all that down right.
We all have to like stop and pause. And I think we are in a season of life, in a world where whoever shifts the quickest is the one who's going to stay out ahead and is the one who's going to win. And I think if the last 2 years did not prove us to be true, you have to get real with yourself now more than ever. And we have to go back to the speed to lead. How quick you are calling somebody is all the difference in the world, because you have to realize the minute you get that lead, there's 5 or 6 other agents probably calling them. And if you are not picking up the phone and calling them instantly, somebody else is. There's also this speed to response, how quick we are to respond after they've already reached out to us. They've already reached out to us. Everybody in your database at one point in time has said, hey, I'm interested in buying or selling a home. It's how quick have we reached back out to them to capture them? And then how quick have we responded back? Or what are the value things that we have automated so that we can see that they're online searching? And we have things set up where we are staying in front of them. And then we can see on the back end that they're engaging with it so that we can respond with value and not respond how every other agent responds. Because to look different, you have to be different and you have to do different things. And you have to provide them with so much value that they want to work with you and you're not masked by the same thing that every other agent's doing. So what do you feel like are some pain points, or what are some ways to add value instantly to capture these people, even before we get to a buyer strategy session? What are some things that you should start doing, or even today, go into your pipeline and say, hey, I haven't done this yet for these clients. What's a way I can add value without even expecting anything in return that gets them committed to me? What are some creative ideas?
I mean, I'm setting everybody up on searches, whether it's like a home search or just a market report.
Okay. Can they do that themselves too, though?
Probably not so much. I would say the market stats.
Yeah, maybe not the market stats.
The search, yeah.
Okay, so market stats would be a way to provide people value. What's something else that you could do?
Today,
really deep into some of those ideas they talked about Monday.
Well, just in today, I took our girl had a flip book made of like a buyer's guide.
Yeah.
And a QR code. And so all the people I had labeled in my database is like a prospect.
Yep.
I went in, I said, hey, just whenever you have a minute, take a look at this. It's going to basically explain the process a little bit easier. Our team works seamlessly to make the process smooth. And then I said, the rates are this based on credit. Right now the rates are a little bit lower.
Mhm.
It's just kind of provided some data points. And then I said, here to help. But it was more of like, here's the buyer's guide, and then here's some information on rates, and just kind of popped in some info. I don't know.
So
Let-
we could go back to the loom thing.
Yeah.
Like personalizing, very
Which
personal.
I want to do
Personalizing a
that.
one video that you send to them that's either a buyer consult or it's either
Maybe what
an
you-
overview of the process of what it looks like to buy a home. I want you to just slow down and think, and they said this yesterday, like, what did Apple do? Apple did not sell the product. They sold the value it provided. I think they sold the story. He said, where's, I wrote it down word for word, what he said about this.
The Apple thing.
Yeah, the
Because of
iPod.
the music.
Yep, he said the iPod, they weren't saying it's 3 gigs of storage. They said it's 1,000 songs in your pocket. So think about when we're engaging with buyers, we shouldn't just say like, we can help you sell a house, or we can help you buy a house. We can help you sell a house. What is really the story we need to be saying to them to get them into that emotional state to then connect with you, to want to work with you? And how do you tell that story in a value conveyed way via text, email, so they interact with you? What would be some one-liners you would say?
I think in going back on that, saying like, we're adding time back into your life because of the work that we do. I mean, on the back end.
What are the other things? Like, do we lower their stress level because we provide them?
And I said that in my little email too, as I was like,
Yeah.
we make things as easy as humanly possible. We have this team, blah, 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 because yes, that's right.
What's a buyer's fear?
They're not gonna know.
Hard.
You're gonna
It's
put something.
hard.
I think first time home buyers all the time tell me, I just wanna make sure that I'm not missing anything, like things, I don't know what I need to do and when I need to do it. And I think that's when we zero in and personalize and say, well, we have a team and we have somebody that's not gonna let that happen. They're basically gonna guide you. They're gonna ask you questions. You're gonna give them the answers and they're gonna make sure it's done, but they're also there to make sure nothing falls through the cracks and you're not having to stress on your end and say, what do I need to do next? Am I missing anything?
Mhm. What is their initial fear before they even sometimes pick up the phone and call you? And why do they not pick up the phone and call us? Why do they like get on the websites and look at houses?
They don't wanna talk, they're not sure they're ready to commit.
Lack of trust.
Mhm.
I think rejection and that they can't do it financially.
Yeah.
I
So,
don't think they can't, but they don't know that they.
so what's the story we need to tell to overcome that fear? Look, are you busting out your?
That they're
spit?
not alone,
Yeah,
that everybody.
everybody feels this way. It's an emotion we all feel.
Mhm.
Sellers have certain emotions that they're gonna feel naturally no matter what, and buyers are the same way. So how do you word your message to them, or what are the things? Go ahead. If you've
This one said, my goal is to meet with you, find out a bit more about your ideal home and community and what challenges you're facing. When we meet, we'll create your game plan so that when it's your time or it's time to buy, you feel confident to move forward aggressively and compete in this market.
And that's a way that is not salesy and conveying what you really are doing. It really does give somebody a visual picture. So I think you say that maybe in the body of your email or your text or your phone call, but what's the tool that you provide them? Is it the buyer strategy session? Is it do we have the call group buyer strategy book? Remember that little snippet? of,
This one?
No,
No. There's
The buyer's
there's
guide.
buyer consult in this one too.
yeah. They had a quick overview process in here. Genesis, you probably know where it's at more than yeah, the game board. Here it is, here it is, here it is. What if we made something like this that you sent out to people that gives them the visual of really what the process looks
Yeah.
like?
I have one like that because I showed you mine, but I did like this one because yours has like like mine shows the process.
Yeah,
But this one has like little mini explanations within
And I
it.
mean, could that be something that?
And
we-
even taking that PDF and
Yes.
putting it in mass email to your
Yes.
prospects in
Yes.
KV Core. Boom, the end. Like, hello, here you go. Yeah.
Even this like door knocked in a neighborhood
Yeah,
That-
or in an
yes.
open house.
or an open house. I think this
Ooh, open house.
is the fear of the unknowns that keeps people from
Yeah.
taking action. And this takes, it's, I mean, one page versus.
And they can see where they're going.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
So before a buyer strategy session, I think this is step number one. But I also think going over this, maybe even like an Loom video that you just have generic that you could send to people via text or via email is also something that would be super powerful. This is gonna make you different.
Are there
That-
any
the-
changes we need to make to that?
Well, the only
before
thing
we
that, because I showed you the one that I made too, the only thing that I added on mine is I had a QR code that took you to the full.
Okay, so
Like
we can do that.
PDF of, if somebody, because there are people who like want to read through all the things
Yeah,
and.
And
went
and it
into
allows
the
to,
detail.
yeah.
Like
Nothing
took you
like
to your,
that.
like your packet, okay.
Mhm.
So we could do a QR code for your, like, your personal one.
Mhm.
And then I feel like you're gonna start creating an environment or a foundation from the get-go that like you are here to help at a high level. You're not here to just sell a house. You're here to build trust. You're here to be the expert. You're here to inform them and make them confident. And I think you'll realize when you start the process like that, it's a lot easier to sell a house. You know, you've set the tone from day one of you are high level, you are different, you have value, you have knowledge, and you're truly here to build trust and meet them where they're at. And then your language and the way you communicate them has to mirror the exact same thing. So we're gonna have Caroline run through the buyer consultation. Some things that I just want to review before she does, even just to freshen her up. I'm putting her on the spot, but I also know that she does this very well at a very high level. For those that you don't know Caroline used to be a teacher. So Caroline, I think probably out of all of us has a way of conveying information in a way that's coming from a servant's heart to really teach people things. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we're doing, right? We're meeting people where they're at. We're teaching them and conveying our knowledge to them to help them to get them to where they want to go. But in that, we have to be strategic. So one of the things they said yesterday, and Caroline, you brought it up, we have to first understand what they're thinking before we know how to even present to them. You know, so what are some questions that you feel like, or what are some things that you can get that conversation going so that you know and understand that your buyer either understands the market now, or maybe they've been reading the news and said the market prices are dropping, the market's slowing down. What are some things that you say from the get-go or pick up from the get-go that can maybe lead you to believe that they're thinking one way or another?
I feel
Let's
like
brainstorm
just
some
asking
questions.
them, what do you know about the current market and what are your thoughts? Cause
Yeah.
they're gonna just lay it out there and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm watching the news, you know, immediately they know nothing about like the market.
Yep, yep.
One thing that I asked in my most recent one that I've never asked before, and it made a huge difference, is what is your goal of this meeting today?
Mhm.
Because like
Their
they-
expectations need to be
Yeah,
met.
well, and
That's a good question.
their thing was, which I did know this, but like hearing them say it, like, we're first time home buyers, we literally know nothing about the process, we just wanna find out, like, when we're ready, what does this look like? So that told me, because like, I do the buyer consult very different depending on who I'm with.
Right, and you
So,
should,
like-
and that's the point I wanted to make.
So like with them, knowing they were first time home buyers, and like you could see it on their face, like they were very like, they said they talked to a
Fearful.
lender, but the lender was totally over their head. So that told me like, okay, we're gonna go through this very slowly. And I'm gonna really break this down into like itty bitty pieces that are very easy for them to explain.
Hmm.
So it was like an immediate, like, all right, I know how I need to tailor
Yeah.
this within like one question.
Because I think it's so easy for us to generally do a buyer consultation. And that's why we're not meeting the needs of the people in front of us, because we don't even know what their needs are. I mean, we know what their house needs are, but like, what are their internal needs? How do I emotionally get them to where they're at? Overcome every single fear that they have so that I built trust with them so I can get them to where they want to go. And that's what the strategy session, that should be like what it does at the end. Yeah, you need to know what house they want, what area, what neighborhood, what they qualify for, what can they really afford, what are the must-haves, what are the wants. But you really need to meet them where they are at, hold their hand, get them to where they want to go emotionally. Can you hear when Caroline talks? Okay, okay, good. A little bit. You muted
Yeah,
her.
a little bit.
I got my move right here. Okay, so The biggest bombs that were dropped yesterday, and I shouldn't say the biggest, there were lots of huge bombs dropped Monday, were 3 series of questions. And I'm bringing them up because I want Caroline to have them top of mind, but I also want us to figure out, like, when do we ask these questions in this session? And it was really like laying out and telling the story before it happens. And the questions were this: if you were going to wait to buy a home, what are you waiting to have happen? What are you waiting for to happen? What's keeping you from buying now, essentially, in an eloquent way? If you know now that prices were going to potentially go up, then what would you do? And I'm going to email you guys all these.
Oh,
And I'll send you
I
a copy of
literally
this
wrote,
too.
I went back to the video yesterday, I
Mhm.
wrote down these exact questions. They're so good.
Are you waiting for interest rates to drop? If interest rates do drop, but prices are a lot higher, how would that really work out for you? And if you can buy at a lower price today, refinance later, would that work for you? I think those questions are really physically going to help you determine where your people are at mentally and what are they willing to do and how serious are they willing to buy a house right now. But I think it also is going to make them realize there is never a perfect time to buy a house. Like, you are chasing the perfect time the rest of your life. If the perfect house pops up and we're presented with these scenarios, what are you going to do? Because if you've already asked these questions and painted this story and painted this visual for the people, when it comes to happening, they've already ran through it in their mind and they already know what they're going to do. Versus you trying to take somebody that's totally mind-funked in the moment, ask them these questions in an indirect, emotional way, you're not going to get those people moving to where they need to go. You're dealing with them in an emotional uproar of fear of loss, fear of so many fears. But if you've already told them and set them the expectations and painted the picture, it's going to happen a lot smoother.
Yeah, because even if they run into that fear, which will happen, you can say, do you remember when we had this conversation and these were the things that we said we were gonna do?
And we all know, like, biblically, like, saying things out loud and saying like what it is we fear, like, releases it sometimes. So if you've already planted these seeds in them and talked to them and said it out loud and allowed them to say it out loud, you have already crossed the battle and won. You just have to find the right house.
I had an article that was sent to me. I'm gonna send it all to you guys last night, but I liked the way he summarized it. He says, are you ready to commit to being in one location for 5 to 7 years?
Mhm.
If the home fits your needs, falls within your budget, and is one you can live with
Mhm.
medium term, that's the best way to set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
So there's never a right or wrong time to buy. If all these things are in line,
Mhm.
you'll be successful. So
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there were so many little nuggets they said yesterday that we could throw out to first time buyers or just to anybody in general. Like, I would love to do a post that homeowners have 88% more net worth than a home renter. And if you all were tracking your net worth at a high level, and me and Mary Carol were, I mean, this is one of our things we did every month, like, how much did our house go up this month? You realize these are things until you have a net worth tracker. We gained so much wealth in the past 2 years that we did not work for because of appreciation in the real estate market. And I've looked at Stephen and even Mary Carol have said this out loud, like, I would have kept every dang house I owned if I would have known, you cannot make money that easy, y'all. And that's what we have to bring value to any client we work with, is real estate is a fabulous way to build a net worth. Even if you don't, I mean, there are people that have called us or that we've like been calling that have bought in their house a year or two ago, and they're thinking, I don't have any equity, and I'm running market analysis and they have a lot of equity even a year or two ago. I mean, that does not happen. So even people that bought at the height of the market has still continued to go up, and it'll still continue to go up, but what if they did need to sell right now?
Or what does your net worth look like if you didn't have the house?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Compare that.
My net worth would be like half of what it is.
Yeah.
Honestly, so go right into your buyer strategy session. Paint the picture. Who would love to be Caroline's buyer today?
I think you should, because we did this at our open house. You're ready.
Okay, look at you, Ashton.
Well, we did it
Jenny
for like,
C.
2 hours.
Stepping up to the plate.
Y'all were role playing. That
She's
was a good
thinking-
use of your time.
Yes,
She
it was.
Like, I hate you.
What did you do? Were you difficult?
No, like right now, cause I just said, oh, I think you need to.
Oh.
No, we,
was like-
no, but we did, we did it the whole time,
Yeah.
basically, other than one person came.
Okay, so how am I literally just, I mean, this thing takes me like an hour to go through.
I would just say go through it at a higher speed because you're not gonna, it takes an hour because a lot of the times you're getting information back to her,
Okay,
back to her. So just go through it at a higher speed. You have 30 minutes.
okay.
I think you can do it in 30 minutes.
You didn't even like
teacher,
prep
we're
me
your-
with
No.
this or anything.
Mhm. You have lots of practice.
Okay, are you, do you wanna be a first time buyer or are you yeah, okay. So first question is, what is your goal for our meeting today?
I want to get more of an idea of what is like, because I haven't been through this, so kind of what it's like on the buying, well, sorry, scratch that.
You're pretty easy too. I know.
It's okay,
This
at
is
least you're
good for
willing
you
to do
too.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
this
y'all
is
put
good
me on
for
the spot right
you.
now, I wouldn't.
Like, there's silver.
See you later.
You could, lead the way.
Mhm.
I greatly appreciate it. See, I want to understand a little more on what it's like to buy a home.
Okay. Have you thought about a timeline of how soon you want to start really looking at homes, speaking with a lender, all of those things?
Well, what do you think? What do you suggest?
That's a great
Yes.
response, Scott, sister.
So I always recommend getting the knowledge up front. And then once you kind of take all of this in, soak it up, then you can, or you're married, so you can speak with your significant other and y'all can decide on the right time. There is no wrong time of getting this information and even speaking with a lender. You can talk with a lender and just get an idea of budget, or, if right now isn't the time, he can really go over with you what you need to do to benefit your buying power in the future. So for example, if you had any kind of credit cards or any kind of debt, he can walk you through the best way to eliminate that to help raise your buying power in the future.
Okay.
So I always recommend going through this, whether you're buying today or buying a year from now, so that you're prepared when the time comes and the purchase price comes.
Makes sense.
So the first part of and I literally use my packet because otherwise I get off track. The first part of our conversation today is really going to be what that home buying process looks like. There's two different ways you can buy, either on market, meaning that we're going to use our MLS system, or off market. And these are properties that are not publicly advertised. A lot of times we have sellers who don't want to, open their home up to 30, 40 showings, but they may be interested in selling. So we have those clients that are kind of off to the side a lot of times that may want to sell if we can match up a buyer and a seller together. Does
Are
that make
these
sense?
are these like for sale by owners or?
Sometimes they can be for sale by owners, or it can just be because of our team, and a lot of people know our team. They may have talked with our listing specialist, Amber, and said, we're interested in selling, but we don't want to go public. So they've already had that conversation, and it's just a matter of matching them up with the right buyer.
Okay.
So the first step in the home buying process is obviously us meeting today to go over that information, everything that's in here, and you'll have a whole packet that you get to take home and look through later. Once we've had our conversation and you go back home and y'all talk about it a little bit further, I always recommend going ahead and speaking with a lender. Like I said, you can either go ahead and get pre-approved, or you can just have that conversation with him of what your budget looks like. To get pre-approved, they do have to have all of your W-2s, they're gonna look up your credit score, your debt to income, and so it is gonna pull your credit. So if you guys go home tonight and decide that maybe in the next couple months you're not ready, that's okay. You can still have this conversation and then he can run the full process later.
Okay.
All right, so then once we do have that pre-approval, when we're ready to start looking for a home, I'm gonna set you guys up on an MLS search. And this is gonna include all the things that we talk about as far as what are you looking for in your home. I will say some things that we can't put in the MLS search is like a move-in ready home. That's not a searchable topic. Other things would be like if it has a fence or not. So some homes that you're gonna get on your search may not be the right fit. That's okay.
If you see one that looks really good to you, you let me know and then we can go look at showings. Once we have found the perfect home, we're gonna make an offer. And within that offer, there's several pieces. We've got a purchase price, a due diligence amount, earnest money, and then any kind of concessions that we may ask for, or appraisal waivers. There's all kind of forms that we'll get into that go into that. Then we're gonna go under contract on the home once we win. During that under contract process is when our transaction coordinator, Stephanie, really comes into the process. She handles a lot of the back end of everything. So she does all of the communication between the attorney, the lender, us, and the selling side. So she's a huge benefit to us. So far, I'm gonna stop right here for a minute. Do you have any questions about what we've talked about? I know that was a lot of information up front.
Yes, I actually wanted to, because I've heard of the due diligence, how people put a lot of money. Can you explain that a little more into detail? That and earnest money.
Okay. Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, no. So,
And it is something you need to be 100% clear with them on.
oh yeah, and I get into that further in. So, but I'll answer it now. So due diligence is a non-refundable deposit to the seller. And basically the purpose of that is you're saying, hey, dear seller, I really want this house. And here's a certain amount of money that I'm going to pay you now for you to hold the house for the next 30, 45 days. Again, it is non-refundable, but it does get credited towards your closing costs, which we're going to go into more detail in a little bit. So it's scary because you have to pay it up front, but it does get credited back to you at the end. The amount of due diligence can vary a lot based on the house. So when we start really looking at what you're hoping for in a home, I can give you a better idea of a range of what that amount can look like. And then it can honestly just really depend house to house. But that's why I always do my research. I look into all of the facts and then I can best advise you from there. Earnest money. Earnest money isn't used a whole lot nowadays. Again, it's a deposit that you pay when you make an offer, but it goes and sits in an escrow account at the attorney. The seller never sees it. And it is refundable if we were to back out within the due diligence period. The reason that most people don't use it nowadays is, like I said, the seller never sees it. So it just kind of sits there in this little limbo phase. It does get credited towards you at closing. But I recommend if you have a very set amount that you are willing to put forth with your deposits, I always recommend putting it towards that due diligence, just knowing that you've obviously got the risk that's non-refundable. Okay. So
Why is that important?
what?
Tell the story. Tell the story of why due diligence is important
Well, I did.
in like making an offer in front of in today's market.
Thought I did that. Did I not do that?
I feel like you did. I think you should just say,
Emphasize how important it is to make your offer stand out.
Okay, so
I want you to slow down, and instead of doing your full script like you always
I know,
did,
I don't know how to
you have to like slow down and of why it's
So-
important today.
okay, so okay, so I'll keep so
Even if you haven't done it yet, do it at
Yeah.
some point. Do it at
no,
some point.
no.
Keep flowing.
Well, I'm thinking about what you're saying, because even when we're saying the earnest money. So again, the due diligence money is so important right now, because if we get into multiple offer situations, is this what you're getting? Okay. As we get into multiple offer situations, a lot of times, many people will have the same purchase price, but the due diligence amount can be different, varies. Well, imagine if you were the seller on that side. Which offer are you going to pick? If they're all the same purchase price, are you going to go with the one that has the least amount of due diligence that you get within 24 hours? Or are you going to go with the one that has the most?
The most.
Exactly. And
That helps them understand it at such a higher level.
okay, yeah. And
Telling the
even
story behind it.
yeah, even within that, we've had situations where offers were accepted that had a lower purchase price, but a higher due diligence, because sometimes those sellers need that money, maybe for moving expenses or for their next house. Again, they know that they get that money and they get to keep it. So for a lot of sellers, that is so important to them. Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Well, I was looking for it. I know you have the knowledge. But that's what I'm saying. We get so much in a routine of like going through the scripts of our what we're
Mhm.
saying all the time
Usually
that
I
we're
go into
not
that
conveying the story of the why.
No, I really do use this thing. That's why I say it takes me a while
Yeah.
sometimes to go through it. But like when we get into wherever the
Like the
page is,
offer.
yeah, when we get into this
Mhm.
page, that's when like I really start.
But as a teacher, how many times do people need to hear things before they hear
7.
it? Okay.
Mhm.
Just keep that in mind. Yeah.
Seven
I really
times.
get it.
No, 7 times.
No, I know, but because I'm
And that's
almost
just for
like,
your average learner.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And you have to think at
Mhm.
this point in time, we are dumping so
Oh,
much
yeah.
information on them on top of so much information in the
Mhm.
market.
Mhm.
So it's like you do have to slow down and repeat things several
Mhm.
times. So by the end of
Mhm.
this, they have a clear understanding
Mhm.
of this is what the process of buying a house looks like in this market.
Mhm. Well, and I feel like that's one reason, and
This is why it's
Again,
good for you to do it out loud.
yeah, and I definitely gauge based on my buyer
Yeah,
too, because like I always go through a lot on just this first page. And then, as you go through the packet, it gets repeated. But depending on the person is going to depend on how much I then keep harping. Like due
Correct.
diligence, I always like harp on, I feel like 30 times
Yeah.
because
For
it
anybody,
is so
honestly,
important. And just like
people
the
that buy.
non-refundable part.
Yeah.
And same with like when we get to talking about inspections, because that's a big thing right now. It's
I've-
inspections.
I've realized that because with my buyers, like, every time I have a conversation, I always, say like, I talk about due diligence. I feel like, so it's not refundable, right? And I'm like, I have to repeat it, and
Mhm.
repeat it.
Cause they want you to,
They
wanna
don't
give
want
a
to believe
different
it, to
answer.
be honest
Yeah.
with you. They're looking for a different response from you.
And that's like when we get to this page, I'm always like, it doesn't matter if the house is falling down, the due diligence money is gone.
Mhm.
So like I say, like as soon as you're handing me that check, just know that it's gone unless the seller was to back out, which like never.
Yeah.
So because they lose that money. So I feel like when I really get into that, I'm talking about all different situations as to why you don't get it back.
And I feel like contract wise, when we said we put that initial near that paragraph.
Yeah.
Just like side note, but like
Mhm.
it helps a lot because they'll read it.
Say
because they're
that
putting
again out loud to clarify. You're adding initial beside the due
Yeah.
diligence paragraph and the
within
offer to
the offer.
purchase
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that they've read that paragraph and understand that it's non-refundable,
Yeah,
which is like a CYA.
yeah,
Mhm.
because a lot of times they'll come back and say, you didn't tell me it, and it's like their initials right there where it doesn't have to be, and I can't tell you how many agents have said, can you let me know what that extra initial is, and you tell them, you're like, they're like, that's brilliant.
Especially when they're large amounts. Of
Yeah.
due diligence money.
Because you can
Uh,
tell them all day long, but
yeah.
if you're getting an initial beside it, you should have read it if you didn't too.
I'm gonna have you, go ahead, Genesis.
When I send an offer, I send them like.
To the
before-
buyer.
Yes, to the buyer. Before I even send them the paperwork to sign on, I like send them a summary in my email.
In an email,
Like,
that's very
reply
smart.
reply okay if you're good with everything, and at the end, I explain due diligence, and I'm like,
That's
it's
good.
non-refundable.
So you have
So
that on
once they
top
say
of it.
okay, I send them the
Smart.
paperwork.
Yeah, that's smart.
That is really smart.
Yeah.
That's
Because
another
that- I
CYA.
have it in my
Yeah.
email, like,
Yeah.
written.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and for some people, I'll add on, if they're super emotional, just like where they're just so excited about the house that, you can tell
They're
when
not
people are like
listening.
not really listening.
Yeah.
That's so good because
Yeah.
it almost it makes
They have to
them
respond
slow
on it.
down.
And
to
say
read
okay.
it. Yeah.
Also,
verify.
And
like,
respond back.
I've realized how important it is to like repeat due diligence, just because, I don't know if you guys saw on the news like a year ago, I think, or less. I think it was in Durham. There was a buyer that she lost 30 grand.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, there's
On
been
due
buyers.
diligence.
There's a lot of
Oh,
that.
there's lots of them.
The thing is, like, she left to Mexico and she wasn't answering phone calls, emails, nothing. So I'm like, it's her fault for leaving. Well, but at the same time, did they really explain this to her?
Mhm.
Because if I know.
It's
like,
always a
my
combination of
$30,000
everything,
Mhm.
Yeah.
no matter the amount.
Mhm.
And you're always gonna be the bad person.
Mhm.
That's why you CYA. I want you to jump to like asking the
Mhm.
question, figure out where
Mhm.
she's at as a buyer
Mhm.
and the story you're gonna tell her and
Mhm.
show her
Mhm.
by pulling up stuff in the MLS and then just talking in general, like your market that you're looking in looks like this and paint that picture. Or we can
Wait.
just say, let's
No, I
say,
gotta get my brain back now.
okay, let's say Genesis comes to you and she says she's looking for a house in
Yeah.
West Burlington, 250 and under.
Mhm.
Okay.
You got to work.
But remember, your job is to convey confidence.
Yeah. I know.
Show and inform,
I know.
and then also let her, like, they
Is it-
don't listen and believe you until you show them. So I want Caroline to like go on the MLS and show that Genesis, like, this is what this market has looked like.
There were facts.
Yeah.
Is it, I'm gonna ask a question. Is it
Yeah.
Western or Williams?
Either or. You know,
Okay.
tit for tat.
Would
Well,
you-
no,
when
not
you
tit for
say-
tat. We know Western school.
3 weeks on the, 3 weeks of inventory or a month.
When you say
Okay.
show them, are you only showing them available, or could you go do
Great
sold
question.
and then show them,
Mhm.
this was the list price and this is what it went for, so
Yeah.
they're seeing those
So,
numbers too.
as agents, what did we learn Monday in that mastermind of where to look at for data? Don't look at things that sold 30 days ago, because 30
Right.
days ago, we were negotiating and getting
back.
concessions. Go back
18.
6 months, 6 to
Mhm.
18 months ago and pull that up.
Mhm. Okay.
Because that is what,
Really
that's the
so a while
reality.
ago.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Western or Williams, it doesn't matter. It's the
Okay.
Same story for those areas. Because here's the thing, you can tell the people this because you know. And I think that's what we're so guilty of. We're
Yeah.
so guilty of like spewing information out on them because they know. But they're also thinking in the back of their head, like, she's trying to sell me.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're telling them high price, high due diligence,
They're
move
thinking
fast.
They want more money.
That's an aggressive push
Mhm.
for their own benefit. But if you tell the story, it does not feel that way. It looks like, okay, she is looking out for my best interest. And she did show me like, hello, this is the reality of it all.
Mhm.
So going into the MLS, and this is something I personally did even before the market got crazy. I would go in and show them like what you're looking for doesn't exist,
Mhm.
or what you're looking for, there are 10 houses.
There's one.
Let's pick 1 or 2 houses that we're gonna go look at. Let's figure out, is this really what you're looking for? And then we'll schedule more. So yeah, pull up. So
There's
the,
literally.
this activity in and of itself during your buyer strategy or strategy session takes everything off of you as an agent. I hope you
Mhm.
guys realize that,
Mhm.
because the market is what's telling them, not you. So like, okay, you pulled up,
Mhm.
go ahead. How many did you find active?
One.
Okay.
So
So
currently
now you're
in,
starting to tell the story.
yeah, so currently and this is, so I just did it by school district just to make it quick.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
so in the Western Williams School District, there's one active home that has your budget of 250 and under, and also 3 beds, 2 baths. So that tells me as your agent that there's a good chance we're gonna have a lot of competition on this property. A lot of people are looking in this area. It's a very desirable area. So when we go back to where I was talking about that due diligence money, in a case like this, it's gonna have a lot of competition. There's a good chance that due diligence money is going to need to be higher. Because again, as we said, sellers want that money in hand.
Mhm.
So that piece is gonna be very important. Another important thing is that with this much competition, there's a good chance it's gonna go above list price. So for example, this one's listed at 250, so it's gonna probably go higher than that, as there's gonna be multiple competitors.
Show
Show
me.
Show what?
Show me how many in this price point, 12 to 18 months ago, what's the list price to sales
Okay.
price ratio?
And then when you go over like the gap stuff.
That way it's taking the weight off of your shoulders of saying this is the reality of the market.
All right, how many days is that? That's a dumb question.
You can put in dates. You can just
Can
click
you?
the date. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You do like 01/01, 2022 to 06/30, 2022.
I didn't know you could do that, because that's
Mhm.
gonna save a lot of time.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
I think
Alright.
you have to spell out like 2022 though. Oh, no.
Well,
it
it says
worked, it worked,
30,
all right,
yeah,
all right,
mhm,
You're good. Go ahead.
So. Let me see, one that was comparable to that one. If I can find them. Like, what's this one? Yeah,
No, that was ours.
yeah.
And this is ours. I mean, look, pull that one up.
Oh, one that,
N-
that's
uh,
not ours.
No.
Which
no,
one?
Go.
This one?
Up.
This one?
Whose house is that?
Oh, ha! Okay, so here's an example of something that sold recently. Well, what was this one, 12 months ago? Yeah, 12
Mhm.
months ago, which is a more similar market to what we're in now. I can't really look at 3 to 6 months because that is a very different market. This is a comparable market. This home was listed for 195 and ended up selling for 218. So you see that price increase. Now, okay, pause. Because we can't see the due diligence on here. What is a good way to explain that? Just that at this time, I mean, due diligence was anywhere from 5
Well,
to
I think that's where
10,000.
we go into that insert into our strategy session that says this is what a winning offer looks like.
Mm-hmm,
And this is where you just provide knowledge of like in this price range, what we're seeing right now
mm-hmm.
in winning offers is X amount of due
Mhm.
diligence.
I would also say another thing to note is that this offer was a cash offer.
Okay.
So something to note is in this price point, we are gonna have a lot of cash offers. A lot of sellers do see the benefit of cash because it means that they can close in less than 30 days. It means there's no issue with appraisals. However, there are other other sellers, excuse me, who are completely willing to look at loans if it's a higher price. So not only are we competing against other conventional, any kind of loan offers, we're also competing with cash too. So there's a lot of factors that go into that.
So then I would talk about how does a conventional offer beat a cash offer?
So.
If you see how many like layers
Yeah.
we're having to peel
Mhm.
off to truly like convey the
Mhm.
reality of the market.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
appraisal
see, so
addendum.
you're going, honestly, you're going deeper than I typically
Mhm.
go.
But if you do that now,
Mm-hmm.
life's way easier later.
All right, my question though.
And you also
is-
gauge how serious they are.
Yeah. How do you handle this if they haven't been pre-approved yet?
You still tell them all this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think here's where we might be failing. We should be calling the lender. I would be giving Kyle or whoever you're working with, hey,
Right
I have a
then.
buyer consultation at 4 o'clock today. Can you be free if I need you?
Mm-hmm.
You get them on the phone with the lender right here in the moment
Mm-hmm.
because their emotions are,
In
"Ooh,
it.
I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Or
put it
you're
on Facebook.
scheduling an appointment with the lender, or
Mhm.
you have Kyle come here at 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got my first buyer.
Yeah,
I
had
feel
a
like
lender
having the
prepared.
Yeah.
lender there would
You have
definitely be
to.
like, they'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's more
Mhm.
value. on top of it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Or here's the thing, have them sit here and fill out the application off of Kyle's website right here, right now,
Mm-hmm.
and get that nipped in the bud
That'll
too.
let you know how serious they are.
No, and
but-
that, I mean, and that is a
You
good, because
know?
that's what I'm sitting here thinking, like, there'd be a lot of people that would be like, oh shit. But I'm also thinking like,
There would be a lot of people
There's-
grateful for that too.
there would, but it would also,
'Cause, yeah, 'cause
if I
it comes down to
said
they
like,
ask
you
you
know, at
questions.
our, I mean, is that something that you would say before the buyer consult that like
No.
at our buyer, or you're just gonna do
You
it?
Put them on the spot.
Yeah.
For me, I ask them if they're comfortable. Like, there's no pressure, but you can get a clearer picture
Mhm.
of where you're at or how long it's gonna
What we
take.
could do.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like it's a good
Look
way
at
to like
that.
weed out
People
people
that are-
too.
Well, I think it goes back to like, you're providing them value
Mm-hmm.
much above and beyond that they even know that they need, which is what we need to do in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen. if
And
you-
also, if you're in the MLS, I'm here to tell you 9 times out of 10, when I sat there and pulled up stuff in the MLS, like they would have went and looked at the dang house right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we can do that, but Kyle can get all your information. We're going to go do that. You know what I mean? Like it's, you don't realize when you get this deep with people, like you will get them into action instantly.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What do you do? Because I've had this happen and it's very
Uh-huh.
awkward. When you do pull up the MLS
Yeah.
and there's nothing
Well,
in
that
their
tells
search.
them a picture too.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's nothing. Look back to see, okay, there's only 3 houses in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they have a time frame of now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we have to broaden our search.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I
Mhm.
think going into the MLS is going to unveil way more than you guys even realize.
Mm-hmm.
By slowing down and not just telling them all the things, you're meeting them where they're at, painting the
Mhm.
picture, and really figuring out like what is the reality of our next step.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain
Is it-
price range you would like when showing this to like a buyer and you don't have, I mean, they haven't been pre-approved?
You would still show them their price range, and it's going to go back to the rule of thumb that I always used endlessly. How much do you want your monthly payment to be?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they say $1,800 a month. Well, I know on average, a mortgage with principal and interest is about $6 per thousand. So that means $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm gonna go a little bit above, a little bit below. Those people that don't really know, I'm gonna go like 250 to 350, if that makes sense.
Well, or if they tell me that their rent is $800,
Yeah.
we're gonna go on the low end.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you're gonna,
Mm-hmm.
you have to ask them those questions so you really know what to put in there before they even meet with the lender.
Mhm.
And oftentimes I had many people that get pre-approved for like $10,000 a month. They don't want their mortgage to be that,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
so
totally.
sometimes it's not even what they're getting approved for. It's like, what do they want to spend
Mhm.
on a monthly basis? And a lot of people know that more than anything, to be
Mhm.
quite honest with you.
Well, and that gives me, I always ask that question too about the
Yeah.
monthly because it gives me a good idea of like how realistic is home buying for them right now
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Because, I mean, I literally just had a phone call yesterday, that Albany lead.
yeah.
She has no savings and her current rent is $500.
Mhm.
So I gave her Kyle's information. Kyle called her. They've talked. I haven't heard back from him yet, but I know honestly, the likelihood of her buying in the next few months is very low.
Yeah.
Unless we can find, like
A $45,000.
yeah, like a US, yeah, the
No,
like,
we-
or a USDA or some kind of
Yeah.
0% down type loan. Because I mean, that
And that
she's not
exists
quite
for you to work
financially ready. And she knew that, like, she was trying to get information of what do I need to do in order to be ready? But
And, you
it's a
know,
good question.
I think that goes down to another thing we should talk about. When we're asking these people certain questions like that, either during the buyer strategy session or even on the phone when they come in as leads, what lender are we directing them to?
Mhm.
Somebody like that, I would either direct to like a Kyle for USDA, or
Mhm.
do you have access to True Liant or State Employees Credit Union
Mhm.
that has 0% down?
That I've been asking that question so much
Mhm.
lately
Yeah.
because people have no idea what State
No,
Employees is offering right now.
No. And again, that's another value add that you have that
Mhm.
sets you apart as an agent,
Mhm.
that you need to be conveying to the people, because that's really, people are picking up and raising their hands because they need somebody to guide them.
Mhm.
And it doesn't, us guiding them by asking them their wants and needs is not guiding them.
Mhm.
Figuring out where they're at emotionally, how do I get past their fears, and who are the people I partner them with
Mhm.
to make sure that we can make all this come to
Mhm.
life is essential.
I feel like I've shifted a lot, like where, I mean, I even did it when I was just doing it with you. Like, I really skip over the wants and needs of the house
Mhm.
until we've talked about the bigger picture,
Yeah.
because ultimately that's important, but that's like, and I feel like that used to be a big part of my conversation was like,
Yeah.
okay, so what do you want about? Da, 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 da.
Mhm.
But like, honestly, we'll
Can't
get there.
excited until
but-
you know you can do it.
Well, that and just like, okay, I mean, it brings up when you pull up the MLS, okay, if these are all of your wants and needs, that's cool, but there's nothing that meets all this. So let's really come down to like, what are your 5 must-haves that are non-negotiables?
Mhm.
And sometimes they can't even get all 5.
Yeah. I think anytime you take it off of you telling
Mm-hmm.
and showing them, you're gonna move them 10 steps ahead
Mm-hmm.
faster than you even realized.
And you can't make this stuff up.
No,
No,
that's
they
what I'm
can't say
saying.
she's selling it.
No. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think,
And they're gonna appreciate this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the information they're longing for.
Mhm.
We're just not realizing it, to be honest with you.
And they're not getting it.
No, they're not getting it.
yeah.
Not getting it all. All they're doing is on Zillow, Realtor.com, getting discouraged because the houses that they want have already sold. We can help you win. Let's talk about what that looks like. And I think sometimes that first question of like, what do you know about the real estate market? You're really gonna find out a lot about where they're at, what they've already been doing, what are some things they've already done to help you get them to where they need to go.
I feel like too, because you were asking me about like when we would ask a lot of these questions, the big questions, is when you have the search pulled up.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
again, if there's only one house that's available and I'm telling you about the competition and I start to see that you get really nervous, that's when you can say, if this isn't, or if this is too high, then what would you be willing to compromise on, like going into the different
Yes,
situations?
yes.
Yeah.
There are 2 other things I wanted to bring up. What are strategies that you do potentially that you talk about doing? And they talked about this in the mastermind on Monday, after you've looked at the MLS and realized there's such limited inventory, or what are some strategies you could start to implement in this market to ensure that your buyers are winning the offers? Do you guys remember what they said? I can remind you.
Oh, I don't remember that.
The pre-inspections, doing the walk and
Oh.
talks.
Or having the inspector at the open house.
Yep.
That
Yep.
was pretty cool. Yeah.
Go after older listings that were overpriced last
Mhm.
year and or that were withdrawn or expired listings.
Mhm.
And then obviously finding off-market properties. So I think we have to get back into that wheelhouse of not just looking for what's on the market, what expired the last 12 months,
Mhm.
or what's sitting on the market for more than 30 days. And also what are some off-market stuff that maybe we have in our
Mhm.
pipeline that we need to pay attention to again.
So, okay, because this was a question that I had when he mentioned that was, if I'm telling my client that,
Yeah.
right now there isn't anything available, but there may be houses that have been sitting on the market for a while, a lot of times they go, well, what's
Why?
wrong with the house?
Yeah.
So how do
I
you
would just say
then
they
sell
probably
it?
came out on the market overpriced
Mhm.
and got overlooked
Okay.
in a period of time where the market's not like how it is right now.
Mhm.
And no, it's not, I would always spin reality, but positive.
And then
Mhm.
just be like, and like you just asked,
Yeah.
people see that as a red flag, so
Yeah.
they're like, we're staying away where.
It doesn't hurt to go
probably
see it.
not,
There's nothing else
you
on the
know?
market. Let's go
Yeah,
see it.
yeah, that's
you
a
know?
good way, because that, when he
compare.
said that yesterday, I was like, okay, how do you though then like take it and spin it? So,
Yeah,
okay.
positively.
Mhm.
One thing I do is pull it up and, because it might show it's been on the market for 70 days, but that's a collection of maybe it was under contract and went
Right.
off, So I will say, well, look, it was listed for 425, way too high.
Yeah.
So then it was reduced, still too high. Or, hey, it was under contract, it fell off. A lot of times it's financing, we don't know, blah, blah, blah. But then that way, at least you're like, but hey, they're ready to sell. I'm sure they are, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and two, I guess you could also say, well, hey, it's been on the market this long. Why don't, before we put an offer, why don't we bring the home inspector
Yeah.
with us to the showing, and he
Mhm.
can go ahead and just do a quick, like Michael will do that.
Mhm.
He'll do like a quick.
What does he
um,
charge
He
you?
said he does not
100
love
bucks.
that.
Usually
though.
$100.
$100. He'll do it though.
He was like.
Well, why don't we find a
right.
handful of people
But
that'll do it
there
for
was a
you?
Guy that was at the mastermind and he said they have an unlicensed person go do that because they're
Yeah,
not.
It's like
they're
a
Inspectors.
contractor. Yeah, or, well,
No.
I thought
His
unlicensed.
Inspectors does it.
He just.
What, honey?
Oh,
Inspectors does it.
Yeah, it was home
Yeah,
inspectors.
he
Yeah.
said that way he's not risking a license, but they know that they have that background, so it's not like they're not.
So it's not like you're leading into an offer
Yeah.
blind of stuff
Mhm.
with offering a high due diligence.
Mhm.
Okay, was this helpful so far?
Ooh, so
Okay. There's
helpful.
one last video that I wanted to have you guys watch. Megan, hold on 1 second.
And
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 just
just
share my
a side
screen.
note, I know this is not buyer strategy, but what's
Step
the
one,
best way
build-
that you approach when somebody says, because I'm struggling with this right now.
Okay, bring it up.
When somebody says, well, how much due diligence would you offer? Because
I
I
think
say
we
to
go
them,
back to the world of what we were in, Megan.
yeah, I know.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing is like,
Using 10,000.
all there's so much history on what we're going through as far as like, we kind of grew up in this crazy market, but then it's a mind game because now it's like you go like, okay, it's normal.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's
Megan,
kidding.
you have to erase the last 2 months.
It is, and it's so crazy.
And just
But I
pretend
think
we're back in like August, July, August.
that's what I've been telling people.
And that's why
and
I'm like preaching this to you guys, so I'm blue in the face, is because I don't want you guys to be
No, but
slow in
you-
this adjustment,
you could-
because you're
yeah.
gonna lose people.
You could
So
say,
even the
"Yep,
buyers that you've been working with right now,
what are you most
that you may
comfortable
be
with using?"
misconveyed the market of right now,
But a lot of people
you
end up
need to
messing
go
up.
back and say, this is the market again. I'm
Always-
sorry to tell you, but it has.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to. You're doing it a disservice if you're not. And that's a hard conversation to have, but it's a conversation you all need to have.
Well, and I think one big thing too, and sorry to go off on a tangent, but one big thing too is like all these people that I have said, hey guys, like November, December, early January, like this is your time. Buy. Well, I'm scared. They're overpriced. And you have these conversations and they've held off. Guess what? Guess where you're at now, and we say it and people don't believe us. And then
Show them some stuff, Megan. Go into the MLS and show them stuff.
Yep.
But I think you also have to say, if we find you have to go back to the what ifs. If we were to find you the right home, we're not seeing pricing yet. It's coming. We're not seeing pricing yet like it was last summer.
right.
Rates are down. They're a point down from when we started searching with you.
Homes are a little bit
days ago.
lower. Yeah.
And homes are a little bit lower, like we got to do something now.
Yeah, like now is your time because we are projected in this county, forget national news. It's only gonna get worse. There's
Yeah.
more and more competition,
And that's
Anyway.
like, without being like pushing.
I
I'm
think we
working
need to
on
do it in a
pricing
video.
it, Yeah.
I think you got to do this
Yeah.
in video because I don't think the general public would interpret it the way you would want them to.
Yeah. 'cause you're
Yeah.
repeating it versus,
Mhm.
You could almost do both too.
Yeah,
'Cause, like,
yeah,
I always
absolutely.
do that
Most
monthly
definitely.
email that I take some of what you have plus like just
Yep.
basic information
Yep.
and put a
Yeah, you
put
do
your
both.
video with it.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely think that's the best thing to do. Okay, we're gonna watch this, how to build relationships with listing agents. Just as a reminder, last year, how do we win offers?
talked their heads off in a good
Okay.
way.
So this is, I know you guys know
Loved
this,
on 'em.
but this is just a refresher, okay? And this is gonna end our meeting up.
Don't expect them to be Amber.
Step one, build a relationship with listing agent. This is the most important part about submitting an offer. The offer itself comes secondary. Number one is building that rapport with the listing agent. I cannot stress this enough because so many of you, and I've seen it on both sides of the of the transaction and the offer, the amount of offers that get submitted without any communication to the listing agent at all, that's an absolute no-no unless you don't want to get this offer accepted. You have to be in communication and build the rapport with the listing agent on this. So easy ways to do it. Text, call the listing agent before and after the showing. It's so simple nowadays when we use showing time to just go ahead and book the showing and forget about texting the listing agent. Just start that text communication. Say, hey, it's Nick with Whistle Realty. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm taking my client. We already, signed up their showing time. Really looking forward to it. I'll let you know after the showing how it went. And if we want to end up putting an offer, we'll get in touch there and I'll give you a call. So do that before, do that after. Always, always, always talk to the listing agent on the phone if they are available. Some listing agents, of course, make it impossible to talk to on the phone or get a hold of it all. But if you do have the ability to get in touch with them, always have that phone call before you submit an offer. It is so important. This goes exactly in the same way of never negotiate over text message, because that phone call is the first step of the negotiation of the deal, of the offer that you're going to be submitting. You're getting so much information from that initial phone call. It's really, really important. At the same time, leverage the team. I feel like there's been a little bit of drop off on the Slack channel. Who knows this agent? Utilize that. If you are putting in an offer and you've never met that agent before, if you don't have the perfect rapport with that agent, if they are not telling you exactly what you need to do to win the deal, use that Slack channel. Who knows this agent? Post their picture and their name in there. Before you do that, I always go to Facebook and Instagram, do a little bit of stalking on the agent. If any of us are friends with the agent, reach out directly to that agent on our team first. Let's just say Adrian already knows this agent. I'll say, hey, Adrian, before I go to who knows this agent, do you know, what was it? Eileen Butts? Was that the one's name? Yeah, that was a good one. Do you know Eileen Butts? And we'll go from there. See if you can reach out. But if not, go to the Slack channel. Who knows this agent? Really, really important. Does it work now? It does work now. Okay. So this is a nice little kind of like a step-by-step process on how to make that initial phone call. This is the Quijano method, because Adrian taught it to me, and then I was talking to Jen, and he taught it to Jen. He apparently has been teaching it to everyone, and it's this amazing, very simple step-by-step how to gain that rapport over that initial phone call with a listing agent. So I love the first two. Adrian, you're so smooth with these. I'm not as smooth with that one. Do you want to role play with me real quick? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, awesome.
Hey Nick, this is Adrian from Whistle Realty. How are you?
Hey, good, good. What's up?
Yeah, hey, I just showed the property. We went to the open house. It's a beautiful open house. You guys had a great setup. I love your snacks. Just wanted to give you a call after the open house.
Thank you so much. That means so much. I know my clients were a little bit nervous about the open house, but having that feedback, I'll let them know. They're gonna be really happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think just being genuine is the key, and and finding something that you really love about the open house, or maybe they had great staging. So that's something that you can compliment.
Absolutely. Then go on to congratulate them on the listing. Very easy to do. Everyone's going to be excited to have their own listing. So congratulate them on that. Lighten the mood. Adrian likes to tell a little joke. I'm sure you already have 20 offers. Ha 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 ha.
I do that.
Exactly. He says the ha 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 ha. It works every time. It lightens the mood. It confuses the hell out of them, but it works every time. And then you can, lighten the mood and then start getting into the meat of it. Getting into the meat, any special terms that the seller's looking for. We're seriously considering throwing in an offer. What kind of terms are they looking for? That'll open the door to getting the listing agent to give you some of that information. Oh, well, we didn't really put it on the MLS, but they would love 2 weeks of lease back. Great, perfect. You wouldn't have known that if you didn't talk to them. That's exactly what they're looking for. You might be going up against 10 other offers that didn't put in an SIP with that offer. You already have a 14-day SIP coming right in there. So that puts you ahead of the competition with just those simple questions that you could be asking them. Small talk. Talk up your buyers. It's a perfect perfect point to start explaining who your buyers are, why you love them so much, why you want your offer to get accepted, how much it would mean to you and your buyers to get this offer accepted. And then boom, hit them with the number one question you need to hit. And this is in quotes because it's the best way you could put it is coming in at blank, blank competitive enough. You already have a number in your head. You've already talked to your clients. You've already comped it out. You've already figured out exactly what it should appraise for. And you talk to your clients what they feel comfortable putting in. Now you ask them, is coming in at 690,000 competitive enough? You've lightened the mood already, and now you're going for the kill.
As long as you don't get.
You're not-
Almost
60%
works.
offers.
40% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
I think it depends on
It's
what
it's a great
offer,
question, and it
to be
works.
honest with you.
All
It's
right.
like a cap
Didn't
and
work there.
No, you're not competitive enough. You know what I mean? Because
Can you go to the next
you
slide?
want me to say that.
It's not showing it.
Outside, I mean, I think
There it
it's-
is. Thank you. Thank you. You see, I trademarked it. You're safe. We're not stealing any of the proceeds from it. The most important part about building that rapport with a listing agent is be a kind human being. It sounds so simple, but it needs its own slide. I was talking to a couple agents last week. I personally have gotten 2 offers accepted. And the listing agent told me because I was the only agent that wasn't a fucking asshole to her over the phone. It's so simple. It's mind blowing how many disgruntled agents are out there. Entitled sounding agents just going out with these offers and saying like, hey, you gonna accept my offer or not? Okay, what do you want in this market? Oh, you.
Like, he will not text nothing, but he'll tell you everything on the phone.
So Genesis has been in multiple offer situations many times. What do you do to separate yourself from other people?
So I always call the listing agent.
Mhm.
I